We have a lot we're going to get to today. Welcome back to the program for this Wednesday, December the 17th. Glad to have you aboard today. We will be talking a lot about Leon Draisaitl, and we'll be talking a lot about German hockey in general. With someone who's been a proponent of German hockey for a number of years, even before it was cool, folks. And you will hear the name Udo Kießling and why that is important in the history of the NHL. We'll talk about him, and we'll talk about Leon Draisaitl, and we'll talk about some of the big news of the week that was with someone who hasn't been with us for a couple of weeks, mainly because of travel, and actually we're going to be getting him at the airport here in a couple of minutes. So let's get right to it. The Blueprint is powered by FanDuel. Download the app today and play your game on FanDuel. Coming up on the program here in a couple of moments from the airport in St. Martin, the International Jet Center, the one and only Brian Burke makes his return to the program. We'll talk about the trades with Burkie, catch up on some news over the past week and a half or 2 weeks here. General manager changes. Devin Dubnyk's going to stop by. We'll talk about Leon Draisaitl and the Edmonton Oilers and perhaps the future of what's happening between the 4x6 and the blue paint there for the Oilers. And maybe, considering he lives there, a thought on the Minnesota Wild. Speaking of which, they've now won 5 straight after shutting out the Washington Capitals yesterday. And plenty, did I mention, on Leon Draisaitl. Without further ado, someone we've missed on the program for a couple of weeks, and we're rectifying it now. We traveled to the airport in St. Martin, making his way back to North America, is Brian Burke, who joins us now on a very slight delay, but nonetheless. Burkie, how are you today?
Good. I apologize, Jeff. There's a little bit of background noise here.
In the industry, we call that ambient sound. Like when you're doing an interview from the rink and you're hearing the pucks hit the posts and the pucks hit the glass. It's all part of the atmosphere of where you're at, Burkie. So don't worry. First of all, on your way back from St. Martin, how was St. Martin?
We were at St. Parks mostly, but it's beautiful. I've never been to this part of the world before. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, it's and you're coming back well relaxed and well refreshed, which is a good thing because you're stepping back into an NHL, which right now, Brian, seems to be dropping bombshells each and every day. But before we get to the trades and the firings and the new general manager with the Buffalo Sabres, everybody happy about Leon Draisaitl. 1,000 points. And he's the first German to hit that number. I think back to a guy by the name of Udo Kießling, who was the first German hockey player ever in the NHL. That was 1982. He played one game for Lou Nanne's Minnesota North Stars against the St. Louis Blues. He wore number 6. He didn't score or get an assist, but he did get a holding minor. And that was it. The German national team threatened to fire his dad, who was coaching, if he didn't come back. So he went back to Germany. And it wasn't until Uwe Krupp joined the NHL that we got our second German. First of all, thoughts on Leon Draisaitl, and then I do want to talk about the 214 draft, but give us your snapshot of Leon.
Well, Leon Draisaitl is an amazing athlete because he's been a prolific scorer. He's a leader, and he kills penalties. It's becoming vogue and fashionable now to kill penalties as an elite player. But Leon's done it since he came into the league. He's elite at it. Mm-hmm. So he's a very complete player, 200-foot player. A term I think is overused, but he's a great kid too. So happy for him.
First German to 1,000 points. And when you're with the Calgary Flames, the 2014 draft, the Philadelphia draft, Aaron Ekblad goes first overall. Sam Reinhart goes second to the Buffalo Sabres. Leon Draisaitl goes third to the Oilers, and your Flames take Sam Bennett. How much conversation leading up to that draft and again, you wouldn't have had the chance anyway, so it's moot, but how much conversation did you have about Leon Draisaitl with the Calgary scouts?
We spent a lot of time on Leon because we weren't sure what they were going to do ahead of us. So we took him out for dinner. Tree and I took him out for supper at Shop Steakhouse by the airport. We interviewed him. We had our sports psychologist, Dana Sinclair, interview him. We spent a lot of time with Leon. I hadn't seen him for a few years. Bumped into him in a game last year. He ran right over and hugged me. He remembered very well the time we were together. I really liked him. He reminded me a lot of one of those mature kids. Spoke perfect English from the other side, not from Mannheim, from the other side of Germany. Mm-hmm. Wonderful, wonderful young man.
At that time too, because and I can recall working the Memorial Cup in Quebec City. The last hurrah of the Colisée was the Kelowna Rockets facing off against the Oshawa Generals. Anthony Cirelli scores in overtime, the last goal ever scored at the legendary Colisée, and Oshawa wins. And Leon Draisaitl, who had been traded from Prince Albert to Kelowna, was the big star of the team. And everybody kind of said the same thing. This guy's got great size. This guy's got incredible hands. He's a really smart, heady player. But the boots were always going to hold him back. Now, he gets around the ice just fine very much. We've seen him play with a torn Achilles, for crying out loud. He was the best, single-legged hockey player we've ever seen. That was one of the best playoff performances any of us have ever seen. But did you have that concern? How much of a conversation was Leon Draisaitl skating in advance of his draft?
We have to keep in mind the thing that we think a player can improve the most and the easiest is skating. We think all the stuff we want him to work on, skating can usually improve by 10 to 15% with basic changes. And Leon didn't need any basic changes. So we thought his skating was not pretty. He wasn't an agile skater. He wasn't a smooth skater. We thought he got there just fine.
When you look back at that draft, like at what point, because at a certain point, everybody pretty much knows like how the top five is going to go. On the floor that day, did you know that it was going to go Ekblad, Reinhart, Draisaitl, and Bennett to you guys? Michael Del Cole went fifth to the Islanders.
No, we weren't sure what would happen at 3. We weren't sure if they were going to take Sam Bennett. We loved Sam Bennett. We thought Sam Bennett was a real rare combination of toughness and skill. Turns out we were right about him. But we weren't sure if Edmonton would take him or not. So we spent a lot of time on both those players. We loved them both. We would have taken either one. Del Cole's the guy we liked also, not as much. But we would have been happy. That's why Tree did not try to trade up to get either player. He said whoever falls 3 or 4 will take him.
I was going to say, we were talking to Steve Warrior on the program yesterday. At that point, he was the assistant general manager of the Florida Panthers, and the two teams that I had heard, and he said, those were the two that offered packages. The Philadelphia Flyers and the Tampa Bay Lightning were both trying to get that first overall pick away from Dale Talon and the Florida Panthers. Philly was hosting, so they wanted to make the big splash, and Tampa was all over Florida as well. Normally, how much, and it seldom ever happens, although I seem to recall one general manager pulling off a rather massive trade up around the top of a draft. His name escapes me, and the two brothers who he acquired escape my mind right now too. But can you describe, just as an aside here, why is it so difficult? Why is it so difficult to make deals up in that top 4, top 5 area?
Because the first 4 or 5 players are usually pretty solid. What made it possible for us to do the deal for the Sedins was the weakness of the first round of the draft, the worst first round ever. And so we were able to get teams to agree to move players. So Chicago moved 4, Tampa moved 1, but you don't usually see that anymore. And the Sedins wrecked it for everyone anyway.
Right. Okay, back to German hockey here for a second. So as I mentioned, the first was Udo Kießling, and the first to 1,000 is Leon Draisaitl. There are plenty more German players on the horizon. Look at that beautiful shot. Look at that beautiful shot of Leon Draisaitl with that 1,000-point puck. I just love it. Burkie, I can recall having a conversation with you at the old Ricoh Coliseum, now called Coca-Cola Coliseum in Toronto, at a Marlies game. And this I would have been probably doing color for the Marlies at that point with John Bartlett. And you and I had a conversation about the future of German hockey. And it was right around that time that you were putting together an agreement between the Maple Leafs organization and Mannheim. And it was an interesting conversation because you talked about the German sports culture and how it may have taken a while, but it finally bled into hockey. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but can you sort of share as much of that conversation as you can from what you remember about describing why Germany was going to be the next great power in hockey?
I can remember it vividly because we believed it at the time, and we were visionary. The Germans are big, competitive, athletic people. They're physically big. They're used to competition. They have a genetic bent towards team sports.
Mm-hmm.
They're awesome. They're awesome athletes. They're awesome people to be around. So we felt we could help them and kind of jumpstart the program. There were 90 million people at the time in a country the size of Ohio and Indiana, if I'm not mistaken. So it's big country, heavily populated, big body people, athletic people. And we just did a deal with Manheim. It was great for us. Fantastic.
You know, I remember part of the conversation we were talking about, and I've wondered this about Switzerland as well. But I remember you and I talked. There was one thing that always stuck with me that you said, because I said, like, how come it's taken so long for Germany to rise as a hockey power? And one of the first things that you said to me was they got to do something with the import rule. There's too many North Americans there. They need to focus more on developing German hockey players. You can say the same thing about Switzerland as well. Do you have a thought on that piece of the conversation?
No, I think what I did correct you on one thing, Jeff. I did say the import rule was the problem, but not for the Swiss. The Swiss at that time were limited to 2 imports, and they made the product better. The Germans allowed 8, and you could get, after 1 year as an import, you get an EU passport and no longer count as an import. So the Germans were playing at times with 13, 14, 15 North American players, and it destroyed. They weren't developing any Germans. So they've modified that somewhat. It's still a problem, but that's what we liked about it in Switzerland. We also did a friendship agreement with Zurich in the Swiss league.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Bracket the conversation on Leon Draisaitl and Germany here. We'll move on to some of the more immediate issues around the NHL. I know that even when you're on vacation, you keep your thumb on the pulse and you still pay attention. Your thoughts of the new general manager in Buffalo. Now, first of all, it's rare to see a GM move during the season. These are basically done after the season. That's when you make your decision up on your manager. But it was a rare GM change. Kevyn Adams out, Jarmo Kekäläinen in. Jarmo Kekäläinen is a very deliberate and decisive manager, and I'll never forget, every time that I speak with him and we talk about contracts, for example, he always says the same thing. Sometimes you have the hammer, sometimes they have the hammer. When I have the hammer, I'll use it. When they have the hammer, I expect them to use it as well. Do you have a thought on Jarmo, the new GM in Buffalo?
I'm a fan of Jarmo's. I don't understand the timing, though. Like you say, Jeff, doing it now, whatever problems they have, they're not going to fix them overnight. They're not going to fix them that quickly. So I was shocked a little bit by the timing. Not shocked. Poor choice of words. I was surprised a little bit by the timing. I think Kevyn Adams is a real good guy. I think he's put some really good pieces in place. He has not been able to solve the whole puzzle. A lot of guys haven't. So I think Jarmo's a good guy. I wish him well.
When you look at the Buffalo Sabres, you know, a couple of things that Kekäläinen mentioned in his opening presser. First of all, he was asked a question about Lindy Ruff, and he spoke glowingly about Lindy and his track record. He was asked if he would make a commitment towards him, and he said everything right now in the organization is under evaluation. Everything and everybody is being evaluated, and right away everyone said, uh-oh. And he also talked about the three-headed goalie monster as well. He talked about needing to do something with the Alex Tuch situation. He's on an expiring contract. And essentially, you know, having a closer look under the hood of the Buffalo Sabres. Any of that surprise you? Non-committal about anybody or anything to start?
No, Lindy Ruff is a friend of mine, but they better be looking at the coach. They better be looking at everything. First of all, there might be a coach you love who's available right now. It may not be in 2 more weeks. So you have to be looking at the coach. Not a commentary on Lindy Ruff, the commentary on where they are and where they're falling to. They're still only 4 wins out of a playoff spot. It's unbelievable how the East is held together. So it's still a salvageable season if they take decisive steps. Fix the Tuch problem, fix the goaltending problem, or carry 3. There's nothing wrong with carrying 3. A few teams are doing it right now. But get a plan in place, get going. And yes, look at the coach. I like Lindy Ruff. I think he should survive. But look, you have to look at it. Sit down with the owner and say, here's the things we have to look at right now, today, and see what we can fix.
Well, that's the thing, too, because it seems very much like Jarmo said a lot of things about not just, these are my words, not his, not hot-shotting this just to get into the playoffs right now, but he wants to build something long-term. Managers always say that for rebuilding squads, and it makes sense. But you really do get the sense that most specifically for Terry Pegula, the number 14 really bothers him. And he really wants to get the number 14 off the board, the successive seasons without playoffs with the Buffalo Sabres, that he wants that erased. So not that I'm saying completely go scorched earth on the future. No one's talking about that, but it does really seem as if part of the marching orders is, to your point, Burkie, get this team in the playoffs right now. That seems to be one of the main jobs this year for Jarmo.
Okay, well, I think Jarmo wants to get in the playoffs this year. He should rent a plane, fly to Lourdes, and bathe in the holy waters in Lourdes. That's the only chance they have of making the playoffs this year, in my view. Jarmo might be able to fix a lot. I think there's too many good teams ahead of them. It's going to be too hard to make up that ground. They're only 4 wins away, but they're going to have difficulty making up the ground. The East is not a terrible conference. It's just a tough conference, and it's a logjam. You have to pass 8 teams to get ahead. Forget it.
If you're handling the Alex Tuch situation here, and look, here we are, Wednesday, December 17th. Tuch was asked about it at practice today, and he said, didn't want to comment on it. He just said, I'll let my agent handle that. Considering how big a player he is on that team, how important an asset he is, both on the team and in the hip pocket of the general manager. As far as strategy goes, if you're running this thing, Brian, what are you doing with Alex Tuch? Is it we have a deadline and we need a yes or no, and then we negotiate? How do you handle the Tuch situation?
I think you do it quickly and efficiently. You say Alex Tuch is a really important player to us. We're not jumping off a bridge if he doesn't re-sign. So we're going to sit down and make an offer we think is fair, maybe move a little bit on it. We're going to spend our time and do a careful offer and see if you want to sign. If not, we're putting it on the market tomorrow. Let's get this over with. Let's start. He's not going to stay. Let's get something for him now.
Do you think it's because I don't believe that in any kind of deal for a player like Alex Tuch or whomever else they may end up having to take to market here, I don't think they're looking for picks and prospects. If anything, this is a team that needs to get out of that business and needs to start turning these players into these younger players into assets. I look at what Kevyn Adams did. I'll defend Kevyn Adams. I know everyone's beating up Kevyn Adams. I get it. I'll defend him on the JJ Peterka deal, the most recent one. Josh Doan's a really good player. Michael Kesselring's injured, but I think that's a really good defenseman as well. I like that deal. I like that deal for the Buffalo Sabres. Is that the kind of deal that if you're Jarmo Kekäläinen, you need to be looking at? We're not trading for picks. We're not trading for prospects. We're trading for young players in the NHL. Yes,
you can get a pick or a player as well. You can get a young player or a draft pick as well. You want current productive players. And the one thing I say to people is the easiest thing to fix on your team is the amount of toughness you have. Get tougher right away. They're getting beat up. Let's get tougher right away. It's the easiest thing to fix on a team. The new Jarmo get tougher right away. Not his forte, but that's what they should do.
It's funny too. Even Tage Thompson talked about this on the Cam and Strick podcast about how it's still, and he had to end up taking things into his own hands when he fought Steph Nason this year. But that situation last year when Stefan Nason ran him over and everybody was looking for loose change on the ice and nobody jumped to his defense. I think that's what you're talking about here too. That still burns in Tage Thompson. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, fighting is ridiculous." Yeah, that still bothers him. That bothers
him. Everyone. It bothers everyone. But a good player has to fight because he doesn't have he's got to fight a guy he shouldn't fight because they don't have the personnel to do it. That bothers everybody, and it lingers. It never goes away. They should get tougher right now, tomorrow.
Okay, off the Buffalo Sabres page. What did you make of the Quinn Hughes deal? And I want to ask you about Minnesota, your old home state. But what did you make of the Hughes deal? And maybe more importantly, when Jim Rutherford and Bill Guerin made the Hughes deal?
I love the balls of both those guys. You're talking big deals. I love big deals. You gotta have a lot of cojones to make big deals. Jimmy always has. I think Billy does too. It's a big deal. A lot of players involved, a superstar involved, good players trading hands. I love it. I love the scope of it. I like it for both teams.
The Minnesota Wild, listen, they're already one of the best teams in the NHL. They just got better. They're on another heater. Their goaltender is stopping all the pucks. They probably still need a center, but when you have someone like Quinn Hughes, all of a sudden, like, I'll tell you, Burkie, that Central Division right now looks to me like it kind of reminds me of the old Smythe Division in the 80s, where you had the Edmonton Oilers and the Calgary Flames and the Winnipeg Jets. And I remember Wayne Gretzky saying, like, look, if the Winnipeg Jets had a goaltender, they would have been right there with us in Calgary. Like, three really strong powerhouse teams all packed in one division. It's hands down the best division, full stop, in the NHL. Now it's just got to be the race to first place, because you don't want to be one of the 2 threes that face off against each other in the first round.
That's the key right now, is finish first. Don't think that's not the emphasis. And we got to look at the playoff format. We got to go to 1-8 and reseed. You can't have top teams eliminated in the first round. So, but it's exciting to watch. All 3 teams are fun. They're exciting to watch. They score a lot of goals. They're physical. I love them, all 3 of them.
Hey, let me get a thought from you before we ask you about the Edmonton deal from last week with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Just a thought on Bill Guerin. Like, Bill Guerin has been involved in the biggest contract signing this year in Kirill Kaprizov, and now he's been involved in the biggest trade of the year with Quinn Hughes. I'm always curious to get your thoughts on other managers. By the way, as an aside, if anyone can, and it's out of print, but it's a great book. It's called Behind the Moves by Jason Ferris, and Burke, you're a big part of that book too. And hearing managers talk about managers is always interesting. What are your thoughts right now? You mentioned the size of his testicular area, but other than that, what do you think of Bill Guerin as a general manager so far?
Well, he had a goalie that popped off about ice time. He traded him the next day. I love that. I love Bill Guerin's guts. I fancy a little of myself in him. I told him, I said, I hope you're not offended by that. I said that once. He said, no, he was flattered by that. But I think it takes, you have to have sensible moves. You can't, everyone says he's a riverboat gambler. But riverboat gamblers live to gamble again. They weren't stupid. They didn't take insane chances. They just were willing to run risks. That's what Bill Guerin is willing to do. Now, I don't say signing Kirill Kaprizov is not the same guts as making a deal for Quinn Hughes. Because overpaying a player to get him signed doesn't necessarily mean it's a good move. But I do like it. I do like everything he's doing. I admire him.
The Oilers-Penguins deal from last week, which, it's funny too, because the news cycle on this one was pretty quick. We thought it was going to burn all through the weekend, and then Bill Guerin and Jim Rutherford got together on Friday. But the goalie swap, we don't necessarily see goalie swaps all the time, but there it was. And the 2 primaries in this one, Tristan Jarry and Stuart Skinner, thought it was interesting / hilarious watching both goaltenders play against each other last night, still both wearing their old masks. That's always a nice little touch. Kulak goes the other way as well in a second-round pick. Do you have a thought on this one? Stan Bowman, Cal Dubas.
Yeah, I like the trade for Pittsburgh. Got not just the goalie back out of it. I think Stuart Skinner, I think they're both goalies that need a change of scenery. I think with Mike Sullivan being in Pittsburgh, he's gone now, obviously, but I think they blame not just Mike. The coaching staff in Pittsburgh had lost some confidence in Tristan Jarry. It was time for him to get a change of scenery. And Stuart Skinner, for sure, has played better than the criticism has been leveled at him. So I like the fact they both got to try it in a different place. Tristan Jarry is big, athletic, and battles. He'll be a real good goalie for Edmonton. I really like him. I had him in Pittsburgh, obviously. I like Stuart Skinner. I don't know Stuart Skinner, but I like him. But Kulak going and a pick going makes this a good deal for both teams.
I just can't help thinking too, like from the Penguins' point of view, like they're in a different place than the Edmonton Oilers are. If at the end of it doesn't work out, all of a sudden Kyle Dubas can move Kulak easy. Teams will be interested. There's a third round pick or whatever, and you could probably do the same with Stuart Skinner. They're both on expiring contracts. I know where you are, Burkie. The only ice is in the drinks, but you are coming back to the snow and ice in Canada now. Travel safe, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me on.
There he is, live from the airport in St. Martin, the one and only Brian Burke. Hey, Zacharoo.
Yo.
I'm happy today.
Did you speak to Lou today again?
To Lou. Because
there you go.
I knew I was going to, you can always tell, right? I knew that I was going to talk about Leon Draisaitl today. So
right.
I went back and did just a quick little search on Udo Kießling, who was the first German player ever in the NHL, played one game for the Minnesota North Stars. March the 13th, 1982, in St. Louis at the old Checker Dome. And guess who the guy was who flew to Dusseldorf to sign him and bring him bring him to North America?
Can only guess Lou Nanne.
Lou Nanne was the
Yes.
visionary who brought him, and he said, like, and he told me, he was like, yeah, the German Federation said, and his father was like a legendary German hockey player, coach, like all of it. Mm-hmm. And they said, like, if your son doesn't come back, like, because he was a big piece of German hockey internationally. I think he ended up playing like 350 games. I think that's the most of any German, not all German, because there was one female player who played more, but as far as men's hockey goes, he's played the most games internationally for Germany. And was a key piece, was a really great defenseman. So it's like, look, if your kid doesn't come back, you're going to lose your job. Think about that in today's day and age. Like, things that happened then that wouldn't happen now. Like an ice hockey federation from another country says, yeah, if you don't send my son back to Prague, you don't send my son back to Stockholm, you don't send my son back to Helsinki, we're going to fire your father. But that's what was held over his head. And that's why he only played the one game in the NHL. But Lou told me a great story. So he played against Udo in 1976 World Championships, which was, as you'll recall, Zach, the first time that the World Championships was open to NHL players. And Lou at that point was a pro, and he went over to play and actually got in a fist fight with his own coach, John Mariucci, beside a Coke machine. After one of the games, coach was yelling at him, Lou barked back, and he actually got into a fist fight with his coach.
Nice.
After one of the games, after his legendary coach, too, University of Minnesota Golden Gophers. Anyhow, I just thought that was a fun way to spend, and like I'm keeping Lou on the phone for an hour. And so just another great. I've had a lot of Lou in my life lately, so I'm in a good mood these days, Zach. So, anyhow,
I was gonna say that's convenient for you. Hey, you're like, oh wow, oh no, Minnesota. Oh no, I have to talk to Lou. Oh no,
Minnesota in
I
the
have to call
70s.
Lou.
Oh, I'm calling Lou now. I just gotta sort of like steer this program into like how I can tell like Minnesota North Star stories from the 70s and 80s, so I get a chance to call Lou and get more stories out of him. Anyway, congratulations to Leon Draisaitl. That looks fantastic. Congratulations to Morgan Geekie, who keeps scoring goals for the I know, right, for the Boston Bruins. Another pair yesterday. Minnesota Wild 5-0 over the Washington Capitals. Philip Gustafson 25 saves, third shutout of the season. Jesper Wallstedt has 4 shutouts. Team has 7. Mm-hmm. I know Colorado's good. I know Dallas is good, although there are some people that aren't as on side with Dallas as others. It was funny. I was talking to someone from another team yesterday who said, like, hang on a second here. Like, they're all shooting like 12%. League average is 9. When this thing comes down, then talk to me about the Dallas Stars. But nonetheless, this Minnesota team is a wagon.
One of the things that I think is interesting. Do you remember the Canucks run? I'm not talking about the run itself, but do you remember the numbers that they were putting up in the regular season the year 2 seasons ago, I believe it was? And everyone kept saying healthy. This is going to come down. Yeah, but everyone kept saying this is going to regress. This is going to regress. This is going to regress. And like I guess they didn't win the Stanley Cup, so if you want to say it came back to earth, sure. Like, they didn't win the ultimate prize, but like, it never came down. That's an 82 game sample size, and then including into the playoffs where it never came down.
It's funny. So what you're talking about is PDO, like the combination of shooting percentage and save percentage. There were a couple of years actually in a row where the Anaheim Ducks had an ungodly PDO, but the one that I always remember? Always, and I'm going to get to Devin Dubnyk after this point. There was that one year, I think it was Patrick Waugh's rookie year as head coach of the Avalanche, where their PDO was just stupid. It was like ridiculous. And for the whole season, like, it does happen where a team can go through an entire season, but generally by the time the playoffs roll around, that kind of crashes. But as far as like going through the regular season, yeah, you can do it. It's happened before, and usually there is like at least one of those teams in the league that does it, and then they flame out in the playoffs. Okay. In the meantime and in between time, please be joined now by analyst here on Daily Faceoff. He is former NHL netminder, the host of Ask Doobie, the one and only Devin Dubnyk joins me here for comments on a couple of things. And Devin, thanks so much for hopping by here. I want to get your thoughts on the Oilers. I want to get your thoughts on that trade, the goalie swap, but you're in Minnesota. Is it like Quinnamania, Quinnapalooza? Like, how do we describe the Quinn Hughes phenomenon here? I mean, first of all, the team was already playing great. Now he's played 2 games. They've won those 2. They're 5 in a row now. The puck must look the size of a watermelon for both goaltenders. But Quinn Hughes is the story. The reception looks great. What do you make of the deal and his presence on the Wild?
Well, it's a massive deal, and I mean, you don't need me to tell you that. But the thing that it shows for me is Bill Guerin saying, like, we're going to try to win now, and realistically, if you don't make a trade like this, you're ending up in the same situation where you got a good hockey team that's probably going to get out in the first round. Now, this isn't guaranteeing them anything, but they just threw a bag at Kaprizov. He's signed for a long time. They have his best years in front of him now. So if they want to win now, Colorado's there. Yeah, Dallas is there. I heard you guys just talking about Dallas, but they're not going away, especially Colorado's not going away anytime soon. So you can't waste away these Kaprizov years and you signed him to all this money by having a good team that's not really ready to win. And so they go out and get Quinn Hughes. Now they've got Wallstad's playing incredible. I don't think, obviously there's high expectations for him and people were excited about him, but he's performing past those. Gustafson's always been good. Now they have 2 1A goalies. This isn't a 1A, 1B. They got 2 1As who are playing incredible. And you start to go down the list. Kaprizov, Boldy, Faber, Quinn Hughes now. And I mean, you still got Spurgeon and Brodin and Zuccarello, and like their team is good.
Oh yeah.
And I think this Quinn Hughes piece is just that added piece that says we're going to try to win right now. We're done with this. And I think it was a great move on both sides. Vancouver got younger. We know the situation that they're in. And people were talking to me in Minnesota. They're like, I don't know about Bouillon. And I'm like, okay, yeah, he's a great player. But if Zeev Bouillon turns out to be 75% of the player Quinn Hughes is, he'll have a great career. Yeah. But we're talking 5-6 years down the road. That's your Kaprizov window. So I think it was an incredible move that way. Now, the only thing that comes in is, does he resign? You got to imagine there was conversation there, but I don't know the rules and how that works because they can't do it until July.
Yeah, I mean, the agent can have informal conversations, with the team, and this is my client's intentions, and like the thing that I keep coming back to as well is, and this is like a very calculated risk by Bill Guerin, because he knows that when it comes time to doing an extension, the team that has Quinn Hughes has the advantage, because the CBA changes on September 15th, and there's no more 8-year deals, and there's no more front-loaded deals, and there's no more super heavy bonus deals. Like, Bill Guerin here can say to CAA and Pat Brisson, like, look, you can still get signed under the framework of the old CBA, or you can try to walk to free agency next year, and that's fine, but then you're going to be dealing with a more restrictive system. You're going to be dealing with a more restrictive CBA, and you're not going to be able to sign a deal that you can here with the Minnesota Wild. Like, is it a risk? Of course it's a risk. But at the end of the day, you got the player, you made your team better, and you have a better chance than any other team right now at signing him under the terms of the what's going to be called soon the old CBA. Here's what I love about it, Devin. I like that there's a team in the Central Division that looks at Colorado and what they're doing and looks at Dallas and what they're doing and doesn't say, you know what? The division's too tough. This is going to be too hard. Oh, you know what? Maybe a step back. No. They're like, all right, cool. We're going to roll up our sleeves. We're going to bite down on our mouth guard. We're going to make a trade for Quinn Hughes. We're going to get a bat, and we're going to get in the box, and we're going to swing for the fence. As a fan, okay, like I don't have anything. I'm talking from the back seat. I'm just a fan of hockey, right? As a fan, I love that. Like and honestly, there's too many, because hockey is very conservative, as you know. There'd be a lot of teams that'd be like, you know what? It's not really our year. Try to have you up on the draft and maybe trade a couple of guys out. And no, here's Bill Guerin saying, Colorado doesn't scare me. Dallas doesn't scare me. I'm going for it. I love that.
And this is a fan base who's for too long now has had to sit and watch their team be good, but get bounced in the first round and not really look like they have a fighting chance. And that's the biggest thing here now, is that people really feel like this is a team that can win now. Like they were playing great before, but you saw in a short period of time what Quinn Hughes can do, and it's everything that he does from the back end all the way to the forehand. We know his offense, we know his offensive capabilities, but you go all the way back to him breaking pucks out of the zone. He's going to be getting pucks moving to the forwards. Minnesota wasn't great at creating offensive odd man rush chances. That's going to change because of the way that he moves the puck. There's so much that he does on the ice that if you don't pay close attention to, is so huge for a team, and he's shown it already in a short time.
How much better and how quicker does he make Brock Faber?
Yeah, now you got two guys that like to move, and when you got to have another guy that can move for you to really be freed up and be able to play at that full potential. And now he's able to do that. The vision, the reading the game, the passes that they're able to make to each other. If you've got a guy that doesn't move as well or doesn't read the game as well on the other side, it's going to limit you a little bit. And obviously there's zero limits to Quinn Hughes, so that's going to help Faber a ton.
Last question about Minnesota, then I want to get to Edmonton and some goalie questions here. But this is a big year for Minnesota. There's the Kaprizov deal. There's the Quinn Hughes trade. There's the World Juniors in Minnesota, which is always a big deal. And then you wonder about, Bill Guerin might bring home a gold medal as well. And then you wonder about the playoffs. And there's a lot of hockey before we get there. But as you look at the Minnesota Wild right now, can you see this team winning the Stanley Cup?
Yeah. And, long way to go before that. But this is the first time I think I can really say yes, like truly, and feel like there is a chance of that happening. Whereas before it's kind of, and I think everybody's starting to feel that in Minnesota as well, where now it's like, okay, it's a real hockey team. And they've always had good teams, but it never felt like great teams. And it kind of always it was almost like nobody was that surprised when they lose in the first round. And even if they got past the first round, there's never that feeling. And now there's this feeling of this team can do it. And you're watching them on the ice, and they've got, like I said, they've got two good goaltenders now, two great goaltenders now, starting with that. And now you're watching this team, and I think it's the first time in a long time that Wild fans, or ever, dare I say ever, maybe I'll say a couple years when I was there, they thought we could win too. But for the most part, first time that they can truly say, like, we're like a Colorado. We're a team that is going to dominate and truly have a chance to win.
I even go back to 1967 expansion and the North Stars, and I remember when they made the Stanley Cup final, and it was it was a tough one. But this is it's always been a great hockey state, as you know. Like, the fans there are crazy for their hockey. The high school tournament is talk, not just talk of Minnesota, but like the whole hockey world, with its own culture of hair and great hockey. But this, like, I don't know, it's just sort of like, Devin, it just happens every now and then, like with certain markets and certain cities. Like, it feels very much like right now it's a Minnesota year. And I think that'd be fantastic. In the meantime, it's been an Edmonton year for the past couple of years. Haven't got all the way, but come close twice. What did you make of, and I want to get to Leon Draisaitl here in a second and 1,000 points. What did you make of the goalie for goalie deal? I got to ask a goalie about a goalie for goalie deal. How did the goalie see the goalie for goalie deal? You see how many times I can say goalie here?
Yeah. So I'll rewind back to when it first happened. And I think, I probably share the same sentiment with a lot of people. To me, it's not that I wouldn't say I dislike it, other than they gave up a lot. They had to move Kulak, obviously, in order to get that, to make the salary cap work. And then the second round pick seems like a lot when you're kind of in the same situation. And you can argue one way or the other. Stuart Skinner was starting to play well the last few games. You could also go back and argue that that's the whole problem, is that there's the inconsistencies there. Yeah. On paper, on the stats, yes, Jarry is an upgrade, but is it really? It's pretty straightforward. And to me, the only thing that I don't like about the trade, I guess, so I like Stuart Skinner, but is that Edmonton's in the same situation they were before. And that's, again, I've talked about this too much, and I don't like doing it because I love Calvin Pickard, but he's a great teammate and he works his butt off and everything, but they're in the exact same situation where they're not comfortable playing him multiple games in a row, and Tristan Jarry struggles. They're now forced into a situation where they have to play Jarry because they have to, not because they want to, and Tristan Jarry has no pressure release valve on the other side of it, and you're in the exact same snowball. And hopefully Edmonton can play more consistently, and a new face can do that, and he's certainly done that since he's got there. But if things were to go sideways and off the rails, they're in the same predicament that they were before. I would have loved to see a combination of Stuart Skinner and Tristan Jarry, and I realize that probably doesn't work salary cap wise, or other things would have needed to happen. But that's what I kind of was hoping for the Oilers, was getting somebody to play with Skinner of Tristan Jarry's caliber. And in this case, like I said, if things go off the rails, you're in the same spot you were before.
That's why I don't think anyone thinks that Stan Bowman is done with his goalies. I
can't imagine he is.
I can't. Yeah. Like, I know, like, listen, everybody got excited, and maybe rightfully so, when Jarmo Kekäläinen yesterday talked about, we can't have three goalies here. We're going to have to make a decision. I think everyone at Edmonton kind of went, Alex Lyon? Really? You think Alex Lyon to the? We'll see what happens. But we saw one of the strangest phenomenons yesterday, where goalies switched teams, but they kept the same mask. Let me frame it this way. I love John Garrett. John Garrett is like one of the best people in the industry. He's a great broadcaster. He's a great person. My first WHA game that I went to as a kid, he was the goalie. Would have been the Toros facing off against the Calgary Cowboys. I believe Wayne Wood was in net for Calgary, and John Garrett was a goaltender. Anyway, he had the coolest mask. Memory. Oh, yeah, because I sat right behind the net, and there was Cheech right in front of me the whole time. It was the coolest thing. So he broke my heart when he told me that my favorite mask, his Birmingham Bulls mask, which is also a Toronto Toros mask, he painted over when he got traded. I'm like, oh, John, that mask. Doug Favell, the pumpkin mask, okay, the legendary pumpkin mask, Philadelphia, that was painted over as well. So I get it that all goaltenders keep their masks, don't paint over them. Everyone there, it's going in every goaltender's personal Hall of Fame in their basement. What's it like wearing the mask of another team when you're playing? Does it enter your head at all? Like, am I reaching for something that's not there? Because from a fan's point of view, you're like, dude, you're not on that team anymore. Like, I can't see a player wearing, I can't see, Brett Kulak wearing like, a helmet with an Oilers sticker on the side. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Usually they go to white, or they actually have a thing now where you can wrap it, which is what I did when I went to Colorado. It's almost like a vinyl wrap, a vehicle wrap, so they can produce it really quickly. Now I think this is probably still too quickly for Skinner's and Jarry's scenario, but They can do it in just a couple of days. It just prints off a computer. It gets heat wrapped to the mask. It looks like a painted mask. So that's one way to go about it. But I mean, I have a great hockey card out there. It is me in a Nashville Predators jersey with an Edmonton Oilers helmet, and it says Devin Dubnyk, Montreal Canadiens on the bottom. So that was like the peak card of like the low point of my career on a hockey card. Somebody passed it to me to sign, and I just started dying laughing when I looked at it. I'm like, that's amazing. Like you couldn't make up that hockey card.
Oh man, that is phenomenal. And I'll tell you what, like right now, my producer Zach is like, I'm telling you right, he is scouring Google Images to try to find that to put it up.
It'll be up there. It's like an upper deck card. It's a legit card. It'll be there. Yeah.
We'll get that. We'll get that one up here. So we'll talk a little bit more here. I want to ask you about Leon Draisaitl, okay, of the Edmonton Oilers. Now, I did this whole big thing on a guy by the name of Udo Kießling, who was the first German player of all time in the NHL. He played one game with the Minnesota North Stars in March of 1982, and then went back to Germany because they threatened to fire his dad, who was a German national coach at that time, and they put the pressure on the kid to come back because he was, the best defenseman, and they wanted him back. And Kießling ended up going back to Germany. But that was the first. Okay, he was the first German player ever. Now, not only do we have, multiple German players in the league, they're not just like bottom guys, they're like top guys. And Leon Draisaitl is the top dog, period. And he's now recorded 1,000 points in the NHL. There's a lot of things that I find fascinating about Draisaitl. One, how he quote unquote fixed his skating from junior hockey to the NHL. Two, how he was able to play against the Los Angeles Kings with a torn Achilles, which I talk to players and they all say the same thing. Like, I don't know how he could put up with that kind of pain, game in and game out, shift in and shift out. And then the burger flipper, that canoe paddle of a blade that he has. And guys will tell me, like, a lot of guys will have like a shorter blade, keep the puck in tight, and he's using this massive, massive blade. But listen, he's one of the best players in the game. At times, he's the best player in the game. When you hear the name Leon Draisaitl, Devin Dubnyk, what comes to your mind right away?
Well, I just think of that beast player. And actually, one thing that comes to mind for me, and I don't know if it's the right word, but it's almost underrated. And I only say that because this is a guy who plays with Connor McDavid, and everybody talks about Connor McDavid, and yes, everybody talks about Leon Draisaitl too, but do they talk about him enough, really? Because if this guy is on any other team in the league, he is the guy on a pedestal far and beyond. And somehow, but then in Edmonton, you have Connor McDavid, who's on a pedestal far and beyond. So for how incredibly good Leon is, I don't think he gets talked about that much. Of course he gets talked about because you can't not, but it's not the same level as he'd be anywhere else. And he's obviously completely fine with that. But just, the different aspects of his game, like everyone thinks Leon is a passer and he's a great disher, but then, he's got 50 goals and he's got this like ridiculous shot from the goal line that he's obviously practiced a million times in his life. And that's what makes him so great too, is you don't, as a goalie, like you don't really know, is he going to hit that thing? Is he going to pass it to the other side? He can kind of load it up in the same way where you don't really know, where he kind of loads his body and he can do one or the other. And he's probably looking to decide what he's going to do. But another thing too, when you see him in person, is just, he's a big boy.
Oh yeah.
He gets on the ice. He's an absolute horse and he kind of plays that. He's just a big lumbering guy. But again, I think just to me, the biggest thing is like somehow underrated or under talked about for how incredibly good he is.
It's weird, hey, because I used to always feel that way about Sergei Fedorov with Steve Yzerman. I mean, Yzerman, of course, legend in Detroit, and the other one is Yevgeny Malkin, who, if there was no Sidney Crosby, like, how much would we be talking about Malkin as being like, the one of, I mean, we already do, but like at a different level. If Crosby wasn't there, I know exactly what you're talking about. By the way, we don't have the card, but we do have the gear combo. Yep. Take us back to this one, Devin Dubnyk.
Yeah, so this was basically was on the card. It wasn't the same picture, but it was this, and then just picture Montreal or Devin Dubnyk, Montreal Canadiens on the bottom. just to top it all off. So yeah, this would have been the first game. Gosh, that was probably from warm up. Actually, no, that's a home game. So I was going to say I thought I switched. I thought I wore a white mask for a little bit, but my Nashville mask took a little bit. But yeah, once you put the helmet on, you can see they use the white pad tape to cover up the orange. But once it's on your head, obviously it doesn't notice. But then of course you see, you'll like make a save and glance up at the jumbotron. They're showing the replay or something. You're like, ugh, that doesn't look right. So yeah, you got to try to forget about it. I didn't do nearly as good of a job of forgetting about it in Nashville because I couldn't really get in front of many. But it's a weird one.
Listen, as I always say about this show, Dan Carlin has a great show. Dan Carlin's my favorite podcaster, and he used to host a daily political talk show in San Diego. And he would always say the same thing. He would say, 3 days a week, I'm the best radio host in the industry. The problem is, I'm on 5. So they can't be perfect shows all the time either. So that's industry wide. One thing I'm going to close on this. I always like asking hockey players this question. Is there a team that you always wanted to play for, but never did? And I'll frame it this way. So this comes off a conversation I was having years ago with Brad May. And I said, was there a team that you always wanted to play for that, and he said, yeah, the Boston Bruins. He said, I always wanted to play with the Bruins, and they made me an offer, and I wanted to sign it. But then they said, you'd be taking Travis Green's spot. We'd have to move out Travis Green. And Matey said, Travis was one of my best friends, and I wasn't going to do that. So I didn't end up playing I didn't take the offer. I didn't end up playing with the Boston Bruins. But was there a team, Devin Dubnyk, that you always said, oh, man, I just maybe because we were a kid and you dreamed about it. Was there a team you always wanted to play for that you didn't?
What's funny is I actually hit most of my teams. If you've asked me this question throughout my career, Calgary would have been cool, obviously growing up in Calgary. Yep. But you don't necessarily want to play at home. Some guys do, some guys don't. So I never really had this crazy. Edmonton was kind of that for me. When I was growing up, Calgary wasn't very good, and Edmonton played Dallas every year in the playoffs, and so you're cheering for them. I had family there, so Edmonton was one of those teams. So I got to play for Edmonton. Then it wasn't nice when I went there, but you go to Nashville and Bridgestone's sweet and Nashville's sweet, and you're like, oh, this would be a fun team to play
Great
for.
city.
And I played for Nashville. Didn't play for Montreal, but you could throw that one on the list too. And then when you every time you go down to Scottsdale and you're there, you're like, man, it'd be nice to play here. Yeah. And so then I got a very short little brief stint on what it would be like to golf and play hockey at the same time and wear shorts to the rink every day, which is phenomenal, by the way.
Yeah.
But that was a 4-month little stint. And another team that I always thought played against them a lot, went in, thought the team was great, the rink, everything was Minnesota. And I laughed with my parents about that after I got traded because my dad didn't say anything, but he's like, I always thought it'd be kind of cool to play for Minnesota. And so that was another one. Another one of those teams would be San Jose because every time we rolled in there, Shark Tank, Joe Thornton, Joe Pavelski, Patrick Marleau, Brent Burns. It was crazy in there, and they were going to the Stanley Cup final, and I thought that'd be a cool place to play. And Colorado because Nate McKinnon and Gabe Landeskog. And so I kind of hit all these teams. All the teams I played on were all these teams that I would want to play for. Yeah,
that's a pretty cool story. Honestly, I always talk about the old saying that I still hang on to, and I say this to my kids too, even though not at the NHL level, obviously. Use hockey, don't let hockey use you. Use it for experiences and meeting people and traveling and seeing different places. I'm always of a couple of minds. One, there's I can see and respect players that want to stay in one market their entire career and just want to be bam, your hockey DB is one team. But then I always say to myself, man, go and experience a lot of things, right? There's a lot of value in it too, and go and meet different people in different organizations in different cities and get a full sort of idea about what it's all about. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I have a point here other than I can see value in both, just from a life perspective,
for sure.
From a life point of view. You know what I mean, Devin?
Well, I look at my life, and I wanted to be that lifelong Edmonton Oiler, and looking back, obviously not realistic because keep people around when you're not winning, but I get traded from Edmonton to Nashville, nightmare, Montreal, nightmare, all these things. Things feel crazy. Wish I was back in Edmonton. I love to have that team as my team my whole career, but now I end up in Minnesota. We had 2 of our kids there. We live there full time.
Yeah,
I love it there. The business that I run, the Dubnyk Development, it's a perfect spot there with all of the youth hockey. I'm coaching youth hockey. Could end up anywhere else in the States where youth hockey is not the same thing. Obviously, you can always make your way back to Canada where it is. But it took me here, and so that everything that all those travels took me to this place that's an amazing place to be. And I got 3 kids and everything's great. And if you stay in Edmonton that whole time, it's not the same thing. And maybe it is, but the experiences aren't there. So I think you're right.
great point. Listen, this has been great. Oh, look at that.
Yeah,
We got Hamilton. Hamilton
Right.
was a big deal for you too, wasn't it?
Listen, it was a tough year.
I know it was
It
tough.
was a tough year. I did this
But wasn't that like
multiple times.
Wasn't that like a sort of like a pivot year for you?
No, that was the end of the down year. So I went from Nashville, cleared waivers, got traded to Montreal, and straight to Hamilton. And then I was in a 3-goalie rotation in Hamilton.
Right.
And then at the end of the year, I went up. I was a black ace for Montreal, which is the last thing I wanted to do. I had a baby at home and hadn't been home. And I went there and they won the first round, and then they beat Boston in Game 7 in the second round. And I finally just said to the team, I was like, I got to go home. You're not re-signing me. I'm 4th on the depth chart. I can't skate with 20-year-olds. I haven't seen my family in 12 weeks. I got to go home.
Makes sense.
And I did. And then Carey Price got hurt the next day, and I had to go on Hockey Night in Canada and tell everybody why I went home.
Right. Man, you get the best stories. By the way, we're going to be looking you up when we get there for the World Juniors.
Yes,
So
I'll
stand
be
by.
around.
Are you going to go to some of those games?
We're going. My kids are actually going to be flag bearers for the opening ceremonies, so we'll for sure be at the USA Germany game.
That's great.
Yeah, I think so. My oldest is gonna carry the Canadian flag, and then I think my youngest might just be tailing him. I'm not sure if they're going to have flags or not. But
That's awesome. Oh, what a great experience. I love it. Okay, well, we'll look you up as soon as we get there. Thanks for this, Devin.
Yeah, sounds good.
Be good.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Be good. Devin Dubnyk, former NHL netminder, now analyst here with the Nation Network and the host of Ask Doobie, and a good-natured guy. And, I got to find that hockey card, too. Anyhow, we'll
I got it, Jeff.
Oh, you do have it. Okay, let's have a look at it.
The worst timing possible, but I just got it right now.
Let's have a look.
I'm just putting it onto the screen for us.
If this is where the host says, if you're listening to us on podcast, so switch over to the YouTube. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah,
let me
Montreal Canadiens, the Oilers mask, the Nashville jersey, and Montreal Canadiens. Look at that.
That's not supposed to happen. This one was just sent in to us here like right now, and I grabbed it and was desperately trying to get it on screen during the show.
That's okay.
There you go.
Who sent it in? Let's give props.
Little Willie.
Of course. He's on it. He's on it. Nice screen grab of me. It looks like I'm like having a nap or something.
All right, there we go. We got it. I was trying to grab that one and get it in. Oh my goodness, I was looking everywhere for that.
Willie gets a production credit. That's it.
Fair.
This show produced by.
That was a scramble to find that card.
You must love that, when your host's like, well, I can tell you what our producer's doing right now. And he's like, fuck. Like, no, I'm having a coffee, dummy.
No, I was. It was good because we were on the same page. I was looking for it, but I'm like looking every possible combination of like Wilds, hockey card, Dubnyk, Canadians, and it's just like, it's all those pictures of him that I showed on the show here, but that was it. We got it. We got it done.
A couple of things here. Hungry for Hockey History. So I got to hop on Tyler and Liam's show here in a second. So Hungry for Hockey History is a presentation of our friends at Uber Eats. Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. From game day eats to paper plates and napkins if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip. Before, during, and after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. What do we got today?
Today, we have a guy that we have never actually brought up on the show before, Jeff, which I think is kind of interesting because I think a lot of them at this point we've kind of gotten to a point where we've
Gordie
actually
Howe.
circled back.
Oh no, we talked about Jean Beliveau.
No.
Oh no, we talked about Jean Beliveau.
1989. Doug Wilson's 700th career point. Chicago Blackhawks defenseman Doug Wilson reached 700 career NHL points, registering a goal and 2 assists in a 6-5 win over the Edmonton Oilers.
Great defenseman. Chicago Blackhawks never wore a helmet. I think he was. So Craig McTavish would have been the last player to go helmetless. Randy Carlyle, Rod Langway, Brad Marsh. I think Doug Wilson, all around the same time. Let go of their helmetless days. I want to say Doug Wilson was early 90s. I want to say Marsh and Carlisle and Langway were a little bit later, and then McTavish would have been like 96, I think. That's the way it feels to me. But anyway, the point that I want to make about Doug Wilson is, as much as, and he did, when he was general manager, have a reputation for grinding players, and really taking his time, and deals were not, I would say, easy to do with Wilson. Not that he had a bad reputation, quite the opposite. Because the thing about Doug Wilson was, and I've heard that there was one player specifically who fits this bill. Even if you didn't have a contract signed, if you had a verbal agreement with Doug Wilson, that was as good as having a contract at Central Registry. I've heard stories about verbal deals that were done, and then later on, when it might have looked like it would end up being a bad deal, Doug would never be the general manager that said, "I know we had an agreement, but," and that happens too. Managers will say, "Oh yeah, at the end of the year, this is the deal we're going to do," and then the player doesn't have a great year, and you say, "Well, things have changed, and your client didn't do this, and blah blah blah." If you had a verbal agreement with Doug Wilson, that was as good as a contract that was signed by both parties. That has always been the reputation of Doug Wilson, who is now a consultant with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I'm really happy for him. Listen, we all sort of, held our breath and hoped that Doug was going to be okay when he went through his health situation. I have all the time in the world for Doug Wilson. And I know it was San Jose, so maybe it's you're not going to get a ton of media requests. But in any show that I've ever been part of when he was running the San Jose Sharks, whenever you would call San Jose and request Doug Wilson, it didn't matter if it was a winning streak or a losing streak, always show up. And a lot of people do. And that's how he handled all of his, day-to-day conversations with people. Respectful, and his word was his bond. That's what I think of when I think of Doug Wilson. I like him a lot. And he was a really good defenseman. And he never wore a helmet. Who was the second? Who was the second last guy to not wear a helmet? McTavish was the last one. I don't think Doug was, but he was in that Brad Marsh, Rod Langway, Randy Carlyle. Is there a second last one? Am I right? No? Am I missing an obvious one? You have that look on your face oh, Marek, I can't.
Brad Marsh.
Was it What year? This is really good on the podcast. We're just going to listen to.
Retired in 93.
Okay, so Marsh,
I'm looking for other ones.
I'm trying to make sure I didn't leave anybody out. Well, this is really interesting stuff here. Is the last part of the podcast is now Philly surfing.
Yeah,
Google, to try to find out who.
No, that was it. That was the final one, 93. Before that, it's the guys that you said: Carlisle, Langway, Bobby Clark, Guy Lafleur, Butch Goring. These are the ones that are being listed here on mine. But
Butch Goring.
These are the ones that I'm having listed
on Butch Goring.
This.
No way.
Hey, I'm telling you where I'm having this.
I know Butch Goring did. Butch Goring essentially had a napkin with a chin strap on his head. It wasn't much of a helmet, but Butch Goring had a helmet. This Google thing is eating space cake. Enough of this Google thing.
Yeah, Guy Lafleur, Rod Langway, Doug Wilson, Randy Carlisle, Brad Marsh. Yeah,
Okay.
but it was Brad Marsh who was the second last, and then Randy Carlyle listed as the one third last.
And where was Doug Wilson? Fourth last? What do you have been?
He's just in the group of Lafleur, Langway. Yeah.
Yeah, lift out Lafleur. How could I forget those
Yeah.
feathers? Good Lord. All right, the sheet is powered by FanDuel. Let's see what Philly comes up with today. The sheet is powered by FanDuel. Play your game with FanDuel. It's the NHL season, and FanDuel is your home for all the action on the ice. From Blue Line to Bet Slip, we got you covered all season long with unique promos, live offerings, and more features to let you play your game. Missed puck drop? No sweat with a live same-game parlay. You can build up your bets until the final buzzer. Download FanDuel Sportsbook today and play your game. Philly looks confident here. Please play responsibly, 18 plus and physically located in Ontario. If you have questions or concerns about your gambling or the gambling of someone close to you, please contact Connects Ontario at 1-866-531-2600 to speak to an advisor free of charge. Philly.
I am confident because I'm in a win-win situation here.
Oh, yeah?
If I give this out and it loses, I get to throw John under the bus, and if it wins, then I'm the guy who presented you the information. So yesterday, we won the first parlay of the year.
Yes, you
did. It only took until December, but the return of the Mac hit. Celebrini, McDavid, and McKinnon all scored. So we went back.
By the way,
to John.
just as an aside, one thing I wanted to mention: Celebrini's been in on 50% of all of San Jose's goals this year. They've scored like 102 goals, and he has like 51 points.
Has to be on the Olympic team.
No. Okay, that's it. Hart Trophy.
Yeah.
I know it may sound crazy, but like you're in on half your team's goals. I'm sorry, and your team makes the playoff.
And they make the playoffs. That's the part that you have to.
Okay, well that's fine.
Because if they don't, he won't.
But if you make the playoffs, I know we're all handing this thing to Nathan McKinnon, but 50% of their goals, man. Okay, anyhow, sorry, finish off your thought. Yeah, Return of the Mac hit great for you. Although, wow, you went out on a real island yesterday. Hope you brought your Speedo because you ain't coming back. Like, wow, what an island you were on yesterday.
A win's a win. They don't ask how, they just ask how many.
Okay. What favorites are you playing today, Tap In?
No.
What favorites you got today, Layup, Philly? What do you got? 2-foot putt?
So we went back to John on this one and got his input.
Got empty net goal. What do you got?
He gave us the DFO. It is our channel theme, the DFO. Dorofeyev, Fiala, and O'Reilly. The DFO. Pavel Dorofeyev, Kevin Fiala, and Ryan O'Reilly all to score. $5 will pay you $185 for tonight.
Freaking way. That's awesome. The DFO, the Dorofeyev,
Shout out to John
O'Reilly.
Bankert. Yeah.
Oh, Johnny. Take the rest of the week off, buddy. Hey, put some extra in Johnny's envelope. Put some extra in his envelope this week. Well done. Oh, like that's another crowdsourced, obviously. So is that what you're essentially doing now?
That's back from John again. Yeah. Okay. Feed the hot hand, man. Feed the hot hand. I'll take the assist. I'm the guy. Throw it to him. You put up the shot.
Keep bringing this guy drinks. No. Don't stand up. Don't stand up. No, you just stay here. Keep bringing him drinks. You're just going to sit here and just hit big for us this entire time. Okay, well, very good. I hope you enjoyed the show today. We had a little bit of history in there, and we got Burkie from the airport in St. Martin. Generous with his time. Man, how'd you like the stare of death from Burkie a couple of times during that interview? I don't know who was doing what.
This close to a civilian moment.
Oh, dude, I told you. I should have asked. Like, who's bugging you, Burkie? Some civilian. We could have got another civilian moment. That's me as a bad host. That's me not reading the moment. That's me not thinking about the clip.
That is an all-time moment still. Who was that? Some civilian. I thought he's going to jump the desk. But I don't know. Maybe there's an element of, like, he knows that he's in the public space in the airport doing it, and he's like, I can't snap at this person because I'm the one taking the call.
Life advice, don't snap at airports.
Yeah.
Really just go along with it. Just swim the stream. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. No, ma'am. Just go along with all of it. Now, if you're in a crowded restaurant like Burkie was in the civilian moment. Oh, no, he was in an office.
No, he was in his office.
Was he in his
No,
office?
that was the
restaurant?
PWHL office at
at
Mattamy now, but
the old Maple Leaf Gardens. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Check out the memory.
That's
on the
why
tape.
that one made sense. He was in his
Right.
own office. Yeah.
Someone else, some civilian walks in.
Yeah.
Look at this guy. Doesn't know his ass from page 6, and he's walking in here trying to tell him I'm trying to do my job. Here he comes in. I'm trying to write a hit single. He comes in wailing all over it, playing a tambourine. He's like, get out of here. Anyhow.
Where Burkie is like, as a producer, and I'm sure for you as the host, like, we're trying to put the best product forth possible, and I don't want Burkie to be somewhere loud or bad internet or whatever, but finding out where he is one of the most exciting parts of Wednesdays and what was Fridays. Restaurants, closets, offices, his house, the farm, airports, and then, as pointed out here in the chat by Jeffrey, Burkie at the mall was his favorite.
Oh, forgot about that. Yeah. Ooh,
Like, where is
good.
Burkie?
I do like. I'll tell you what though. Part of me really does like Burkie at home with the big picture of Burkie.
Yeah, when the yes.
And because the
When
camera,
can't figure out which one's him.
that was one of my favorites. So the camera kept
Yeah.
gravitating. Well, it went back and forth. It was like a metronome going back and
Yeah.
forth between fake Burkie and real Burkie.
Yeah,
Oh, that was good too.
so good, man. Where's Burkie today? I don't know. I don't know.
But that was a good one. That was a good one. So thanks to Brian Burke for stopping by the program today. Thanks to Devin Dubnyk for stopping by the program to talk about a few things. Minnesota, the goaltending situation in both Pittsburgh and Edmonton, and then his goalie career as well. And running down all the teams that he played for. And John, Willie, thank you for the getting the hockey card. Getting the hockey card there for us. That was good. That was a fun show. Oh, and did I mention I got to talk to Lou today? So your boy's in a really good mood. Lou Nanny. Before Lou Lamoriello, there was the OG Lou Nanny, who we're going to see in Minnesota when we get there for the World Juniors. Stay tuned for those shows. Those will be a lot of fun as well over the holidays. So thanks to our guests. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Thanks to everyone listening, everybody watching. Thanks to Zach Phillips for producing the program once again today, along with John, who gets a production credit. Willie, you get a production credit as well. So we're adding up on the producer credits on the program, and that's just fine by me. Talk to you again tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern, right here on the sheet. Jeff Marek along with you. Hope you enjoyed the program today. If you did, or maybe even if you didn't, they can't all be gems, folks. Please hit the subscribe button. Also a reminder, every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, Johnny Lazarus, Colby Cohen, I call them the Impact Players. You might know them as a tandem that makes up the Morning Cup of Hockey. Also DFO Live at noon Eastern. This year, your host Tyler Yaremchuk alongside Carter Hutton. Full day's worth of programming right here on Daily Face-Off, your favorite YouTube hockey channel. And as a reminder as well, Zach Phillips, our producer here for the sheet, said if you subscribe, he'll buy you a puppy. It's true.